Welcome back to the Real Slim Fady Show. I'm your host, Fady Hawatma. Today, I'm going to be talking about a lot of the stuff that I've posted on LinkedIn. So if you guys didn't know or you don't follow me, I do a lot of my content creation on LinkedIn for the majority of my career. That's always been my channel of choice, and built a pretty decent following there. And so the other day, I was like, let me just see what's worked, what hasn't worked, what's been viral, what hasn't gone viral. Because we know a few other episodes ago, I talked about that racist VC that went viral, and that was really cool to see. But I wanted to see what actually resonates on LinkedIn. And so the biggest post that I made last year on LinkedIn was about losing 100 pounds. And then the second biggest post was about picking a fight with the industry that literally I came from. Third was about going broke building Clockwork. Fourth was this product launch that we had. And fifth was about quitting drinking. And so out of my top 10 posts, three of them were direct confessions about what the last few years have cost me. I've been running Clockwork for 8 years. I started it back in 2018. One of them was me publicly turning on the industry that I literally built Clockwork out of. Three were product or company milestones. The other three were a hiring post, a speaking gig, and an invitation to take a morning walk at a conference, which is kind of a funny story that I'll share. The interesting thing is the smart takes are working, right? The frameworks work, the industry analysis, the thought leadership, the stuff that I put real effort, like typing out my actual thoughts about a specific thing, a specific industry, something like that, that actually works. And those are decent, but I would legitimately call those posts mid. And I think the things that actually took off that I love about is the stuff that about personal stuff, the stuff that I kind of cringe when I type, or the stuff that I don't almost publish. Legitimately, I'll type out the post and sit on it for like a week, tweaking and be like, oh, do I actually want to do this? Do I not want to do this? Those are the ones that took off. And those are the ones that this podcast is literally made for. So walking through each one is going to be kind of a fun little journey, going back through the stories, but then actually digging deeper. Because if you don't know, LinkedIn is very haiku type poetry, like this sentence, this sentence, this sentence. And there's only so much you can capture in there. So there's a lot of nuance that gets lost in the LinkedIn posts, even though they go viral. So the first most popular one was a partnership that we landed with Thomson Reuters. Thomson Reuters is one of the biggest, if not the biggest, accounting software company in the world. They sell tax software and a lot of other resources to over 20, 30,000 firms in the US. So an absolute massive network. And we landed the partnership to be the official Thomson Reuters FP&A solution. Awesome. But like, all right, the post was fun, right? It's always fun to make those announcements, all this kind of stuff. But the way that that story actually happened, they DM'd me, their corporate strategy person DM'd me on LinkedIn one time being like, hey, we're doing research on this entire market. We're really excited about what you guys are building. We would love to talk to you. And for me, I'm like, usually when I get DM'd all the time on LinkedIn, people are always like, hey, we have something for you. This is going to be exciting. This is this. It's like, you're probably full of shit. But this was one of those where I'm like, how am I not going to respond to a corp strategy leader at one of the biggest companies in our industry? And so the story was, took the meeting, and initially it was like a kind of a cagey conversation. I was like, I don't know how much I want to share with them. Are they trying to build a Clockwork? Are they trying to build an FP&A solution? Because the entire industry was changing. Everyone was like, hey, we need FP&A, we need financial planning software, all this kinds of stuff. So you never really know, especially as a startup in the early days. Everyone's trying to take your lunch, as they say. And so you always have to be super careful, but at the same time, you still have to let people in and show them what you have and why it's different. And for me, I've never had a problem kind of sharing Clockwork. I'll literally give her code, and that's the cheap part of Clockwork. The beauty of Clockwork is all the stuff that we have on top of it. And so I've kind of, I don't know, call that the arrogance of a founder, but that was kind of always my thing. So when they reached out, I'm like, I don't really know. We'll see what this conversation goes like. So we had the conversation. They're like, hey, we love this. Just so you know, we're talking to 10 of the other softwares that are kind of near you, adjacent, or direct competitors. We just wanted to let you know. I'm like, okay, awesome. But like, what do you actually want? And they're like, we don't know if we want to buy it. We don't know if we want to build it. We don't know if we want to partner with it. It's usually the three uh, channels that a large strategic will go with when they talk to a startup. And so we went down this path for 9 months of them talking to us. And keep in mind, when you're at a startup, 9 months feels like 9 years. And so when I was talking through everything with them, showing them all the stuff about Clockwork, telling them about our roadmap, getting them excited about the things that we were doing, I'm sitting there and I'm like, all right, cool. I have 75 other things that I need to be doing. And we were building a relationship, a strategic relationship with Intuit at the same time. We were building a strategic relationship around a fundraise at the same time. There were so many moving parts at this time and big moving parts, and I had to prioritize them. When Thomson Reuters came back and they're like, okay, we've gone through and like hyper fixated on you guys. You guys are the ones that have something that's very unique that we think will bring to the market, and we want to genuinely partner. So I was like, all right, cool. What does that actually mean? And then after the 9 months, we had to go into like a couple months of negotiation of like talking about what the actual partnership looked like. How are we actually going to get things off the ground? What does the announcement look like? What are we trying to do here? It was just very, very intense, I guess is probably the best word of it. And it literally all came because they slid in my DMs on LinkedIn. And we had a conversation, and then we showed them all the stuff that we were doing. Of course, that gets them excited. When you show them and you tell them all the stuff that you're building, that's why these companies and these large corporations partner with startups. They can't move as fast as we do. They don't have the industry expertise that we have. And so it was exciting. And when I posted it on LinkedIn announcing this partnership, everyone was like, holy shit. And that credibility was kind of funny. That credibility stamp carried us for a very long, it still carries us. There's so many times where people are like, oh, well, Thomson Reuters partnered with you, so you must be a big name. And it's a brand name, right? People see Thomson Reuters, they see Clockwork, they hit the button. They don't even know. We had people literally scheduling calls with us who had no idea what Clockwork is, no idea what we did, but just because Thomson Reuters did a press release and was like, hey, this is our FP&A partner, people booked a demo. We're like, well, we appreciate that, but like, you're kind of wasting our time because you don't even do what we do. You can't even use Clockwork, but it's just kind of funny. So when you look at it, like DMs work, there is no time better than now to reach out to literally anyone and everyone that you want. So if you're running a company, if you want a job, if you want to do whatever, reach out in their DMs. Every single person is accessible, from the CEO of whatever company you want to the bookkeeper at whatever company you want. Every person is accessible. So make sure you take advantage of it, because the big companies are looking at you too. And maybe you align. So reach out to people that you don't think you can reach out to. And DMs absolutely work. They absolutely work, and they can change your life. They can change your entire dynamic of your job, of your company, of your career. I can't tell you how many team members I've hired because they slid in my DMs or I slid in their DMs. And they're usually the best team members, because you're like, hey, this is actually cool. Let's talk. And then everything else kind of makes sense after that point. Don't be turned down by DMs. Everyone thinks that it's spam or all this kinds of stuff, but it legitimately is the thing that built one of my biggest partnerships and kind of put Clockwork in a league of our own among anyone else in our space. And we're talking companies that are huge that they were looking at, they were analyzing, and they still chose us. That's the kind of stuff that happens from a legitimate DM. The second post that I had, it was about the outsourced CFO world. I used to be an outsourced CFO. I became an outsourced CFO because I had to. I think the outsourced CFO industry is the biggest crock of shit I've ever seen in any industry ever. It does not take anything for someone to just call themselves an outsourced CFO. I made this post. There were over 10,000 impressions within the first like few hours. And it was very much an argument that outsourced CFOs are kind of a waste of money. They're a waste of money, waste of time, and everyone kind of floods the market calling themselves a CFO, and they have no business calling themselves a CFO. I came back from a career at Boeing and FP&A, and then oil and gas consulting and finance and accounting. And I didn't even think I was qualified to call myself a CFO. All the clients, all the people that I was working with, they were the ones that like, I want you to be my outsourced CFO. I'm like, the hell do I know about being an outsourced CFO? And then I got it. And I'm like, wait, this is it. This is all it needs to be. And then I started becoming an outsourced CFO. Then I became a full-time CFO at a high growth stage company. And that was awesome. But I've been in this industry for a very long time, and this industry is full of bad actors. It's full of people that are full of shit. They have no idea what finance is, let alone accounting. They'll be glorified bookkeepers calling themselves outsourced CFOs. You have all these firms that call themselves CFOs, but all they are spreadsheet jockeys that sit in spreadsheets all day and cost people tens of thousands of dollars just so they can feel good about themselves calling themselves a CFO. Don't forget, when I sucked at my job, I was an outsourced CFO. When I showed real value, I became a full-time CFO at a company that was really, really successful, that was doing really well. So don't you think if you're an outsourced CFO and you're killing it, you're probably get poached by someone to go and do something real, something special, not running a consulting firm charging people $5,000 a month to build financial models. The real ones do, the fake ones teach. And so when you're talking about the industry as a whole, it's kind of crazy that I literally was that. I was an outsourced CFO. I built my firm out of being an outsourced CFO. But after seeing the industry as a full of shit, that's where Clockwork came from. Clockwork would not have happened if the outsourced CFO industry was phenomenally successful and it was very full of integrity. Clockwork, or my consulting firm, was very successful. I had 8 employees. We scaled over 5 years. It allowed me to fund Clockwork by myself. It was a very successful. That's not the life for me. I don't want to sit there and charge these companies tens of thousands of dollars when a software can do that work for a fraction of the cost. That's where Clockwork came from. Clockwork came because it needed to help businesses know there's a better way than paying some accountant or paying some outsourced CFO for stuff that they should have at their fingertips at all times. That's why Clockwork exists. So while I shit on the industry and I look back at it and I'm like, this is kind of bullshit, that's why Clockwork exists. So that time frame, and still to this day, if someone comes to me and they're like, hey, we want to buy Clockwork for our clients, I'm like, what's your role? And they call themselves an outsourced CFO and they think that they can charge their clients $5, $10, $15,000 a month. I'm like, no, thank you. We're good. You get to pay retail price. You do whatever you want. Outsourced CFOs do not care about clients like an accountant does. That's a hot take, and I will go on record 10 times out of 10 times saying the exact same thing. Outsourced CFOs are so much more concerned about billable hours, living in spreadsheets, being the bottleneck for all these decisions so they can feel good. Companies that make under 50 million in revenue do not need a CFO. Unless you're going through mergers and acquisitions, unless you're going to IPO, do not need a CFO. All these outsourced CFOs are going and convincing these 1 to 30, 1 to 40 million in revenue companies that they need a CFO. You don't. You need a controller, 100%. You need an accountant, absolutely. You need a bookkeeper, 1000%. You do not need a CFO. And so all these people that go back and they try and pitch these honestly, these innocent, naive entrepreneurs or owners or anything like that, it's such a scam. It's such a scam. So Clockwork's real motive in the market is to empower small businesses and their accountants to do better. So they don't have to rely on outsourced CFOs. I've seen so many outsourced CFOs screw companies up. They literally cost them fundraise. They cost them acquisitions. They cost them all this stuff. They cost them employees because they can't keep up. And so when you actually need a CFO, you'll know. But right now, I'll take an accountant plus Clockwork every day, all day, and twice on Sunday. And that post was funny because it caused so many people to be so pissed off at me when they would reach out. And keep in mind, we sell to outsourced CFOs. We have outsourced CFOs that are partners. And they're like, dude, what are you doing? And I'm like, dude, don't be a shitty outsourced CFO and you'll be fine. Why are you mad at me if I'm calling out the industry on doing unethical shit? So it was kind of funny when I actually made that post. I had some of our customers, some of our largest customers, like, yo, we love you. Like, thank you so much. You have accountants dropping CPA off of their name, off their business cards, off their whatever it is. They're dropping CPA so they can call themselves a CFO. What the hell does CFO even mean? I'd choose a CPA all day. You actually have to work for a CPA. anyone can wake up tomorrow and call themselves a CFO. There's no governing body that says, yes, you are a CFO, you are not a CFO. Plus, in today's day and age with AI, with technology and all this kind of stuff, the CFO role is completely, it's pointless unless you make over 50 million in revenue and you want M&A or you're going IPO. It's pointless. Your COO, your chief operating officer, is who owns finance, because you can have one finance member, a couple software, and you're good to make all the decisions, have all the visibility moving forward. So companies that think CFOs are kind of the be all end all, it's disappearing. It's literally disappearing. The outsourced CFO industry as a whole, disappearing. There's a reason why you have all these people running ads. I didn't run one ad running my outsourced CFO firm. My business grew like crazy because of word of mouth, because I did what I said I was going to do, and everyone's like, "Holy shit, this is it." Now I literally scroll on Instagram, and me running a venture backed company, I get targeted with CFOs. I get people sliding in my DMs with all these automated AI bots of, "I'm a CFO. I'm an outsource." I'm like, dude, if you looked at my I'm a CFO. I'll run circles around you. Why would I need to hire you? So that's the kind of funny thing about these posts, about this industry as a whole, is you always have someone that you're going to piss off. And that was, going literally against my own tribe in a way that pissed a lot of people off. And so when I made this post, it was such a telling thing of who got mad. And I'm like, the fact that you're getting mad is the exact reason that this post exists. That's exactly why I think. Do you think an accountant reached out to me and said they were mad? Hell no. They were all like, dude, thank you so much. I'm actually going to put CPA back in my signature. I'm going to actually build my practice around being a proud accountant, not trying to act like a CFO because all these other people are going to take my clients. And so when you look at that, like it's not an indictment against those people. Those people are good. I'm not saying they're nefarious people or doing anything nefarious, but I was one of those people, right? Not in the unqualified bad actor scene, but in the sense that I was charging a companies a lot of money to do work that in retrospect, it didn't always justify the price. I had the qualifications no one else had. I had the experience no one else had. But there were times where I was the most expensive person in the room, and I'm like, what the hell do I do? What do I know? You guys are the smart ones, the founders, the ones running the companies, the ones making the decisions. I was sitting with chief medical officers who have built these massive organizations. I'm like, why am I the one being paid $15,000 a month to try and help you on your business? And so when I look back at what I was doing then versus what software can do now, it's a very honest assessment of all that work. I'd say 90% of my work could have been automated, should have been automated. And that's why Clockwork exists, because I tried all the tools in the space, could not find one that could actually automate the stuff that my client needed. And so as a CFO, I built a software because there's no other software in the market that can do what an actual experienced CFO does. That's why Clockwork exists. And that's why the post worked. And it's not because I was throwing rocks or pissing people off. I was throwing rocks while I was standing in the same glass house. I was there. I was that person. And the comment section was fucking hilarious. Everyone, it was a war zone. People were like, what are you even doing? What are you even saying? The other half, they were in there. They're like, hey, this is amazing. It's about time someone says that. And I was like this hero to them, that like, hey, this CFO who knows way more than I do is out there finally calling the industry for what it is. And that was amazing. I absolutely love that. One of the things that I almost didn't post that post, because I was like, what happens if one of my customers, they're out, and he vehemently disagreed. He wrote in the comments and was like, you are wrong. I've never thought could be so wrong. And keep in mind, he's literally one of our biggest customers, and we had just launched that partnership. And I'm like, oh my God, am I going to lose this deal because this guy is salty about my post? But I kept it up. I stayed. I kept, and it kept going viral. It went viral way, way more than any other post. And I'm like, look at that. I'm like, hell yeah. The other post that went super viral was the fact that I lost 100 pounds. So if you didn't know, I weighed 306 pounds at my heaviest, and I lost about 100 pounds. And that was the single highest reaction post of the year. So there were, hundreds of people that commented and reacted to the actual post. And so the post was about losing the 100 pounds in the last 2 years or over 2 years. It's been about 3 years since I lost all that weight. Um, and about, it was really about what Clockwork cost me more than money. It cost me legitimate years of my life. I always say this, people think I'm joking. Clockwork has for sure cost me at least 10 years off my life. I mean, easily, with all the stress and all the stuff. I'm trying to reverse that. Absolutely trying to reverse that. Getting in shape, being in shape, eating healthy, doing all that kind of stuff, filling my life with love and people that I want to be around, trying to reverse that. But you're talking 18-hour days, garbage food, no friends, no social circle, barely seeing my family. It was legitimately the worst stretch of my life, and that is not an exaggeration. And then I decided I needed to change. And so fasting, working out, walking 15,000 steps a day, that changed my life. And the line that I think is the real engine of the post is, it wasn't a coincidence. Once I became the healthiest version of myself, Clockwork blew up. That was the exciting thing about the post. That was the real beauty of it. It was about the 4 years before the change, the version of me at 306, the version of me that's eating a Costco cheese pizza because I'm like, oh, well, I had a bad day and this is going to be the only meal I eat. That's the version that wrote that post. And the version of me that was building Clockwork and not realizing that the company was struggling because I was struggling and I was failing as the founder personally. So of course I'm going to fail professionally. And so the thing that I didn't put in the post, and which is obviously the most interesting thing, is my decision to lose weight stemmed on my sister. So my sister, most beautiful person I know in my life, she's my little sister, 2 years younger than me. She had been overweight and she was like, I'm going to change. And I said, listen, and we are very, very close. And I go, if you lose weight, you go on this journey, I will go on this journey with you. Solidarity, I'm in this with you. That's why I decided to change. It was out of love and respect for my sister. And I was like, you know what? If you can do it, I can do it with you. And we went on this journey. She's lost 80 pounds and looks unbelievable, healthiest that she's ever been in her life. I've lost 100 pounds because I was fatter than she was. And that's really the real reason that I decided to lose all the weight. It wasn't this like grand gesture of like, oh, founder finds his meat. No, fuck that. It was a big brother doing what was right with his little sister. That's what changed my life. And everything else followed. Clockwork success was a symptom of it. Fundraising was a symptom of it. Running a good company was a symptom of it. Being healthy was a symptom of it. But it was literally all out of solidarity and love for my little sister. And I've been trying, quote unquote, to lose weight for years. And I was all like, oh, I could do this. I don't really know how fat I was, to be honest, until I actually stepped on the weight. Like they say, if it's not measured, it's not managed. And I was not measuring shit. So when that happened, that changed my life. That's what I don't have in that post. And I talk about this LinkedIn douchebag kind of post of, oh, founders, blah, 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 blah. But like at the same time, you just need one thing that's going to drive you, one thing that you genuinely care about. There's nothing I care about more in my life than my family. So you put my family into any situation that I can help them improve, boom, I'm done. Like changed, decision made. There's no deliberation. It's done. And so that's exactly what happened. That's why I lost all the weight. And that's why I did all that. So what I learned from that period and what I think transfers to literally every single person, whether you're running a company or doing your own thing, it's not like a wellness influencer thing. It's not a kind of bullshit thing. It's if you care about something, you will change your life. There is nothing gray in that sentence. If you care about something and you're passionate about something, nothing will stop you to change your life. They talk about willpower, they talk about discipline, they talk about all that shit. If you genuinely care, it would change. If you genuinely wanted to do it, you would do it. There would be no question about it. And I genuinely wanted to be a good brother for my sister, and I changed. So when I talk about the 15,000 steps a day, it's not a fitness flex. It's literally the cheapest, most reliable form of strategy I've ever done for Clockwork and for myself and for my family and being committed to my family. And half the best ideas I've had legitimate in the last 2 years have come on a walk. The walks are literally not a hobby anymore. They're the job. My team knows. Literally, just this happened yesterday. My CTO put a meeting invite on my calendar and was like, "Hey, from 2 to 3, we're going to talk about the product priority roadmaps." I'm like, "Awesome. I'm going to be on my walk." And he was like, "Well, we could reschedule it to Monday." I was like, "No, no, no. I'm gonna be on the walk. I'm gonna put on my Meta Ray Bans. People are gonna think I'm a crazy person because they don't realize that you can talk on the phone with Meta Ray Bans. In the streets of Chicago, people think I lie when I tell them I'm on the phone and I walk by. Yesterday, this guy was literally like, "Where are your AirPods?" I'm like, "Meta Ray Bans," and I kind of feel like a douche, but at the same time, like, sorry. And so that's the thing. My team knows if they want to talk to me, put a counter on my invite and tell me that I can walk. And that is my happy moment. That's my happy time during every single day. I take walks all the time, every single day, 5 days a week that I'm in the office. I'm taking walks, whatever window I can, taking calls on whatever walk. This was the story behind that actual LinkedIn post. And that LinkedIn post, everyone loves it. And I love it. I felt so connected to all the people that follow me when I get to share something personal and vulnerable and they support it. I think that's amazing. That's beauty. You always see the internet full of all these, oh, I did this and I raised this much money and it's like, who cares? None of that's real. The real stuff is all the stuff that matters. And that's what people show up. That's the vulnerable people that people want to see. The other thing is when you talk about product launches, I mean, on LinkedIn, we always do product launches and we always talk about new functionality, new features, all this other stuff. But what we are building at Clockwork is something that I've dreamed of literally from 2015, 2016, 2017, 2018. And 2018 was when I incorporated Clockwork. 2020 was when I went full blown on building Clockwork. I stopped doing my consulting and I was like, all right, I've built enough business and wealth and knowledge and all this kinds of stuff to go all in on the company that I want to build and the future of the industry. And it was always tied to the thing that I wanted to packed with the market, with the industry. It was never we ship this product or this feature or this or that. It's when we do something milestone and we legitimately break ground in an industry, like we invented AI in financial planning. And that's not an exaggeration. 2018, we invented AI. Now we always are the first mover, so we're always setting the tone. And my dog literally ate my business plan for Clockwork. And it's a true story. I have a 130-pound Mastiff mix. And when I wrote in my moleskin notebook, and if you guys don't know, rescues and Mastiffs are very separation anxiety. And so I literally left him to go take my garbage out, walked downstairs, came back up. He had destroyed my notebook that I wrote Clockwork's business plan in. He was like a year old at the time, and he's the cutest dog in the absolute world. But he ate my business plan. And so I wrote probably 12 pages of what I wanted the product feature to be in that. And I wrote it on a flight to LA for my brother's wedding. We've maybe built a page of that, maybe a page. So when I do product feature releases or announcements, it's not oh, hey, come and use Clockwork. It's this is finally the thing that I've been dreaming about being made real. And that's the stuff that I get super excited about. And people love it, right? People, the network love it. And it's not these people talking about shit. It's people doing shit. That's what people like. And so when I share, hey, we did this, I've been telling you about it for a long time and we finally did it. They're like, oh my God, this is actually cool because, it's unfortunate, but in social media today, you have a lot of people that just talk just to talk and they don't actually do anything. And so when you can do it and talk about it and do all that kind of stuff, that's what people love. And so when you're talking about Clockwork kind of stuff, like paying for stuff for my personal checking account, that's not romantic, right? I didn't pay myself for 4 years. That's not romantic. Taking loans just to keep things around, selling my condo, selling my car, getting rid of the car. I'm a car guy. I had a BMW M3. I got rid of it because I was like, I can't. There's absolutely no reason. I literally did not leave my house anyways. When you take that stuff, like that's the stuff that's not included in product posts, in feature posts, and product releases, in milestones that you hit with the company. But I think the most important thing that I learned about those posts is like you tie it to something real. People want to know good news. They want to see good stories. They don't want to just see all these kind of fake things. So when you can actually put it to something that's tangible, something that you learned about your journey, that's vulnerable, it's real, the vulnerability that costs you something to admit is the only kind of vulnerability that anybody cares about. And vulnerability does not cost you anything. It's literally just content. And it took me a long time to be comfortable with that and get that. And so when I looked at the actual posting that I was doing, the best ones were always really vulnerable. That honestly took years for me to get to. I have people that reach out to me, they're like, dude, how do you do this? How do you tell the stories? I've been doing this for a long time. I'm an old man. Like, I have been trying to build my audience, trying to build all my stuff for a very, very long time. So when you look at the big announcements of the company, it underperforms every single thing at least 2 or 3 to 1 from my personal vulnerable stories that I share. And that's not a coincidence. That's a signal about what people want to know. They want to hear. They want to hear real shit. They don't want to hear some stupid story about, oh, I fundraised and I did this and I did that. Like, those will perform well because you have a lot of people that want something from you. But the real ones are when you're actually vulnerable. And one of the funniest posts when that kind of went viral was a hot girl walk post at this conference that we were going to. I wrote in the status, just very simply, everyone knows that I'm on my fitness journey, that I love walking, all this stuff. So I said, hey, join me on my hot girl walks every morning at the conference. Because when you're at a conference, I don't know if anyone's gone to a conference, you're working 20 hours a day. It's insane. You're always working, so you never have time. So I was like, all right, 6 a.m. every single day, we're going for a walk before things kind of happen. And I had this one lady go in there and she goes, it's so cringy for a founder and CEO to say a hot girl walk on their social media, let alone a dude. I was literally and I was like, who the fuck are you to tell me? Like, it's very counterintuitive to be mad at me about talking about a hot girl walk because I'm a guy when you're saying what you're saying. And that was one of the funniest posts that I ever had. And that comment went viral. Her comment went viral as well as my post. And it was so funny. I'm like, why am I getting so much hate? Because I said a hot girl walk. And if you don't know, hot girl walks are literally, you just go on a walk. They call them hot girl walks because it's just, girls would just go on walks and they call them hot girl walk. I go on hot girl walks every day. I don't have to be a hot girl to go on hot girl walks. So it was just hilarious when you're trying to be funny, you're trying to be personable. There's always gonna be someone trying to talk shit. There's always gonna be someone trying to be rude, trying to tear you down, trying to do this. But like at the end of the day, it's turned into a phenomenal story. And guess what? We're going to that conference again next month. And I'm absolutely going to make the exact same post. And I'm going to say, who wants to join me on my hot girl walks? And I'm sure I'll piss someone else off, but that's always part of the fun as well. When you actually look at the other side of the posts that performed really well were ones about talking about what it meant to be at a startup. And when I say that Clockwork only started because I'm crazy enough, it's a true story. Like, you need crazy people to work at a startup. You need crazy people to build something special. Every single founder that's listening or is insane. And they need to hire insane people. I have never hid the fact that I'm an insane person. Clockwork would not exist if I was not insane. And my team knows that I'm absolutely insane. So realizing that kind of stuff and not kind of dramatizing or romanticizing what it means to be at a startup, people love hearing that. The other thing was, being sober for 3 years. I've never had a problem with alcohol, never been an alcoholic, never had an issue, never any of that kind of stuff. But it was just one of those things that I kicked when I started my health transformation. And alcohol was just an easy thing to do to remove because when you go drinking, you eat probably pretty shitty that night. You drink a bunch of calories. Then you wake up the next morning, you feel like shit. So you go and eat something that's a little more shitty. And then you spend a couple days and you're like, well, I'm too tired to go to the gym. I can't do this, can't do this. So one night out drinking turns into like 3, 4, 5 days where you're off track and you're kind of resetting. And you do that a couple times a month. I mean, your entire month is blown. Your entire month is literally gone. So alcohol is one of the things that changed. And everyone, when I tell them I don't drink, you have a problem. What's wrong with you? You were an alcoholic. Did you do this? I'm like, it's literally, this is the world that we're living. And I also want to be very careful about it because alcoholism is a real thing. There are a lot of my friends that grew up and, they had alcohol as a problem with them. And I don't want to flatten the difference between having a problem and not having a problem. What I had wasn't a problem, right? I wanted to make sure that my life was better cutting out the things that I knew were wrong, that I knew did not help me. Alcohol, no one in the world has ever said alcohol helped them. So it's a very easy thing to just stop. The thing about not drinking when you don't have a problem, and I'll be sensitive saying that, is the social tax that you pay for that. And it's legitimately relentless. Every event, every dinner, every friend, every closing, every date, every first date, you're the odd one out. And it's legitimately relentless every single time. Now, I don't even think about stuff, right? 4, 5, 6 years of posting some of the most vulnerable stuff that I've ever posted in my life. I've always been a very private person, and that muscle is very well worked. It's very well tuned. It's very well conditioned. And so for me now, posting my deepest, darkest secrets, my most vulnerable stories, the failures, even more than the wins, that's what's important to me, because people, they want to know the messy middle. They don't want to know, oh, I'm everything's phenomenal, because 9 times out of 10 or 99 times out of 100, you're full of shit. If everything's good, nothing's good. And there's no way that people live these phenomenal lives that they love to put on the internet. And so that was really one of the biggest learnings that I had. And that's why I was like, all right, let's make a podcast out of this, because this is kind of cool. The story behind the LinkedIn posts, people thought they were, I wonder if they listen to the actual full story, if they'll be even more happy or more pissed or give me more shit. And so when I talk about my audience does not read my LinkedIn for Clockwork. My audience reads my LinkedIn for me. And that was a massive epiphany that I had. And the Clockwork milestones, they always get the dutiful applause that milestones get on any platform. But when people get really, really hyped, it's on the personal stuff, the stuff I'm constantly tempted to literally just cancel out or not post or that kind of stuff. That's my brand. That's why the Real Slim Fady Show exists. And it's always been the whole time. And when I look at my posts, I'm always like, what could I post about this and this and this? It's like, no, post whatever's on your mind. My podcast episodes, I'm not scripting them. They're not anything that I'm like, oh, Claude, tell me what I should post. Give me a viral topic. It's literally just off the top of my head. I'm like, what am I actually feeling right now? What am I thinking about? What struggles am I going through? And top of the stack, by all means, is the confession that doubles an industry indictment. When you're talking about your own people, your own industry, your own that kind of stuff, that could legitimately hurt your business. I had so many of my investors like, dude, why are you posting that kind of stuff? I'm like, it's true. Outsourced CFOs are a joke. If you hire an outsourced CFO, you're probably throwing money away. Can't tell you how many people have come to Clockwork to sign up for our software, and they're like, yeah, my outsourced CFO sucks. I'm trying to get rid of them, or I just got rid of them. I don't need them. I don't want to sign one because they don't actually know anything. I was literally in the room. I left the room, and now I'm telling you that the room sucked. And when I do that, those posts go viral, and those are pretty fun to see. And then when you talk about the personal transformations, that's the stuff where reactions and comments go through the roof. People are always needing a good story because they need that in their life. There were one of my friends, he came up to me at one of the conferences and he goes, dude, you inspired me. He lost like 60 pounds. Came back to me. He's like, it was because of your posts. When you started posting this stuff, I realized like I needed to get my shit in. So he lost the weight. I wonder how many people have been inspired by my posts, and I just never saw them. I never talked to them. I got DMs and all this kind of stuff, and those I love. That's fuel for me to keep going. That's accountability, because I'm like, oh, I can't fall off now because I don't want to be that person. And so it's amazing to hear that. And so everything else is, I mean, it's literally bottom tier. The frameworks, lists, explainers, tips, all this kind of bullshit. Like 3 mistakes companies under 20 million make, blah, 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 blah. Those perform average as fuck. And I feel dirty writing those because I don't give a shit. I don't care to give you tips and tricks on, like, I want to help you. Like, I'm going to help you giving you real shit. If you need tips and tricks, go to ask Claude. Claude will tell you the top things that a company should be doing, not some random CEO who started a tech company on LinkedIn. So the posts that I get to share my actual story, those are the ones that go viral, and those are the ones that I feel the best about. These episodes, when I get to share my vulnerable stuff, those are the ones that I'm most excited about, and I get to share, and that's amazing. And that's the gap, right? Between a founder I'm trying to be on a platform versus the founder my audience keeps voting for. And everyone always talks about founder leadership and thought leadership and all this kinds of stuff. And when it comes down to is you got to do what you want to do. You got to do what you feel genuine doing, and being genuine to yourself. People know that. They immediately know about uh, something that's real to you. And if you're not being real to them, they're not going to be real to you. They're not going to support you. They're not going to show up in the way that you expect them to show up or you want them to show up. So the biggest thing for me when I sit down and I write a post and I sit down and record these videos or these podcasts or do any content that we put on all the socials, I don't do it hesitantly. I do it because I'm excited. I don't have the thoughts of this is too much, this is too personal, this should not be out there. I don't do that anymore. I'm like, all right, as wild of a hot take as I can make, let's go. Like, let's absolutely do that. So when you actually look at that, that's being genuine. That's what people really want to hear. They want to hear people being real. So that's been the Real Slim Fady Show. I'm your host, Fady Hawatma, and we will catch you next time.